Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Point 3 live stream Wednesday. On time for once, thankfully. We're not a minute late. Thank you for joining us. If you are here later on, if you're watching this after the fact, thank you for being here. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to us, follow us on our social medias, all that good jazz. Today, we're going to go over the news. We got a little bit of a busier week compared to the past couple ones. And then we are doing our deep dive, which is the Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom preview. Going to be talking about the thoughts that we have on it leading up to it, what we hope to kind of see, and what we hope it does for basically the big finale of the DC EU. So
the biggest, flattest finale you'll ever see.
Yeah, sadly, it's not going out with a bang, but maybe it does. Who knows? We'll see.
Huh?
But let's get on with the news.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lou, I don't know if you heard. We're not going to talk about the specifics of it just because we don't want to be the one that kind of spreads out the leaks, and we're not going to show photos because absolutely not. We're not risking that. No. But if you've been living under a rock in the gaming world, Insomniac, who is the developer behind the Spider-Man games, Ratchet and Clank, they had a cyber breach last week through a ransomware attack. The hacker said to pay them $2 million, or I think it was like 5 Bitcoin or something like that, which is $2 million. If not, they were going to release internal data. So they didn't, and this week has been full of leaks for future games, future projects, future release dates, unfortunately, including a lot of employee personal data as well. So Insomniac going through it right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, dude, that's the hard part is like, I think us specifically at the Point 3 podcast, we're taking more of a stance, and we kind of did it softly before the strike started of, kind of respecting the creators that are a part of these projects who really help us do what it is that we're doing, right? Without them, we don't have this going on. And, if you're on the other side of the coin, like, you wouldn't want that out. Like, there are a lot of big things, especially from Insomniac specifically. It's just another addition to, it's really hard to be a fan of a lot of things because there's nothing that's kept under wraps. There's no secret. Yeah. There's no big, like, oh, here comes the release. And this is why we wonder why people don't want to do SDCC, why they, E3, these conventions are dying because those are the big reveals. But we even now know who's going to be on stage before they get on stage. So it's really unfortunate. I don't wish it on any company, but the stuff that they leaked, I mean, did I see it? Yeah, I saw a lot of stuff, and the future is fantastic, but
yeah,
it's tough.
It is. It's a very unfortunate thing because a lot of these people put their time and effort into it, and a big part of it, especially in gaming and any medium of entertainment, a big part of these things is getting that first reaction of surprise.
Oh yeah.
Yes, we knew that. For example, Wolverine, was announced. We knew that, but we still hadn't seen anything. So for it to get shown off in that way, is definitely a little depressing and sad for the people who, worked so hard on it and wanted to surprise people. And my one last thing before we introduce our lovely, lovely third co-host is that if you are judging this game based off of what you are seeing from the leaks, you're a clown because, and I said it on my personal Instagram.
You did. You did. No, I put 2 and 2 together now.
And I'm doubling down because if you are somehow judging that this unfinished game looks bad, you're an idiot. I don't care. I'll say it. You're an idiot. Yeah. So wait to see it, and hopefully, and I'm sure Insomniac is going to be okay. So but hearts out to them, and hopefully nothing else comes up out of this. But anyways, introducing our lovely third member who has missed 2 live stream Wednesdays because he was on a great vacation, Spider-Brando.
Awesome.
Wow. He makes his appearance.
Sorry for the lateness.
The ghost of Christmas past.
I'm not in the past, though. Moving on to the future.
The future. Yep. Speaking of future, we're gonna keep rolling on with the news. In March and or April of 2024, it is reported that Thunderbolts is set to begin filming.
Yeah, Wyatt Russell, dude, this guy's been very vocal. I feel like lately, if you guys don't know, he also is in Monarch, Apple Plus, monster streaming. It's Godzilla associated show. Yeah, he's trying to break some news, and he had mentioned, I think a few weeks ago, I think we covered it, of him saying, the MCU needs to get back to its roots and all this kind of good stuff. I'm excited that it's filming in March or April. But I would be curious to see if this really had anything to do with the Kang revelation and all the Jonathan Major stuff. If there's any connection, if that gets pushed, I would be curious to see what it was that they may have done. But again, if it moves forward business as usual, I think it's a good thing. Sounds like it's going to be a fairly grounded story from that standpoint. Then,
Yeah,
that'll be fun. That'll be fun.
Yes, and I think with them doing that March or April, I think that does kind of line up with that target. They moved for the Thunderbolts, which I think was early 2025, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's typically, well, that one's supposed to be in competition with Superman Legacy, which is a summer
July.
drop.
Yeah, so
yeah,
there you go.
So typically when a movie starts filming, it's about a year in advance, give or take a couple months. So yeah, that March, April, May, June timeframe. Hopefully it's on track for a 2025 release, giving us one of the biggest box office competitions we've had between Marvel and DC in a very, very long time.
For sure. Next up, I'm going to skip this next one because I think that's a bigger piece of news. Just one quick thing, because we can't stop talking about it. And we're definitely going to talk about it more eventually when Spider-Brando watches it. But Godzilla -1 is heading back to Japan, this time with a black and white release. They showed a little trailer through their social medias, and I won't lie, I got excited all over again.
100%. 100%. This
Spider-Brando. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna kick it over to him and say this. Like, we know Werewolf by Night got a black and white and then a color release, and we were just like, But this one going from color to black and white. If Spider-Brando, if you had a chance to see this in black and white first, would you do it?
Probably not. I don't think so.
Whoa.
I feel like I'd like to see its destruction and color and its beauty first.
That's a fair point.
Fair.
That's fair. I wonder how
I'm not against the black and white, but I don't know. I just feel like I'd like to see it. Kind of like Logan. Like Logan I'd much rather watch Logan in color first, and then the black and white edition that they did was just like cherry on top.
Yeah.
Fair. Good point. Well, next up, one that a lot of people, I think, were disappointed on after they heard this piece of news. Charlie Hunnam was almost reportedly going to play Anakin Skywalker in the prequels. Apparently that meeting with Lucas didn't go that well, so therefore he wasn't. But it was reported he was offered the role of Green Arrow at one point, but he turned it down because it was just something that was not. It was just something wasn't. God, if I can speak, it wasn't something he wanted to do. There you go. To a lot of fan casters' bemoans and demise, unfortunately.
The Anakin Skywalker thing, I think Spider-Brando, you probably have a better reference. I think we can probably pull up a picture of Charlie Hunnam, and to me, when I see him with that scruffy beard, I still think he would be fantastic Logan, in my opinion. I would like to see him as Wolverine. I think he's gritty enough. I think he'd have a good take on Green Arrow. It'd be different from the previous Green Arrows we saw. I mean,
I don't think he'd be good.
That's a tough
Anakin.
one. That's a tough one.
Very
yeah.
If anything, maybe like an Obi-Wan. With a little beard. But
yeah, maybe, yeah.
If then, I don't know.
I was going to say, though, I feel like a lot of people did put... I was going to say, a lot of people, I think, put him in that position of Green Arrow, though, mainly because of the look. And I don't know if they took into consideration the acting. Not to say that he's a bad actor. The things I've seen him in, he's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I just don't know if that's something he wants to do, and if he, I guess, like proved himself in a way that he could be in like a superhero type film.
I this would feel very similar to how, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but for kind of the social media marketing that they're doing for Aquaman, you're getting a lot of, Jason Momoa's journey as Aquaman, from casting, who he wanted to be, his personality, and how they really took the Aquaman character and aligned it and made it feel like Jason Momoa is Aquaman. I think that would be another case here. That Green Arrow persona, I don't think would fall in line with kind of what we've known if you're more from, a book or the animated Green Arrow version that we've gotten, or even CW. Yeah, he'd be a little bit different.
Do you think they would have gone the CW route with him again? Or do you think they would have done more, true to comic, a little more lighthearted Green Arrow?
I just don't think that's him. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments if you're watching this. Is that really his style of acting? I don't know. I think he doesn't kind of strike me as an Oliver Queen type, like it just, I don't know. It would have been different. I think he would have looked cool, but I think it wouldn't have been faithful.
Yeah. I wish we could have seen where he would have appeared, like what the offer was and where he would have been coming into. I think that would have added a lot of context into it.
If he did appear in the DCEU, where would you guys have wanted him to come up?
Wanted and I think are two different for me.
Drop him.
If I really wanted, I think the Flash would have been pretty good for him.
R.I.P. to them.
Yeah. In a much better version of the Flash,
Yeah.
But where I think I have a weird feeling that Zack Snyder would have gotten his hands on him and put him in Batman v Superman.
Yep, 100%. That's where I slotted him.
Spider-Brando.
I know. Hungry for more. I'm hungry for more Green Arrow.
I'm hungry for some freaking vitamin C, man.
Does that vitamin C stand for vitamin cruise? Want to go back on your cruise?
Yeah, I got that post-cruise depression.
Dude.
Work is kicking my ass this week. I wish my cruise was during this week of work. That would have been beautiful.
Oh, there you have it. Point through people. He wanted to miss us again. Just the most important.
No.
He's not happy to be back in the door.
Dude, I'm with you. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
All right.
We could all cruise together and podcast on a cruise.
That was
SDCC cruise? Is that still a thing?
I was going to say the SDCC cruise in 2025, I think it is. 2024. I can't remember.
I still think that'd be super cool.
That'd be fun.
That'd be awesome.
That's in the plans. In the plans.
Yeah.
Well, next up, another kind of, I guess, recent fan casting for some people. Reacher star Alan Ritchson says he would love, note that L word, love to play Batman in the DCU. How do we feel about that one?
I didn't love it. I mean, seeing the promos for his show on Amazon, I'm just like, dude, are you too big to play Batman?
That's my problem with him. It's not a look thing or anything. This man is just massive wall of muscle that if he were to portray Batman, I don't see any villain like realistically putting up a fight against him.
Bro, this is like a Jim Lee design come to life where he's just a massive man and his suit is just like ripped. They're like, oh, we're going to build you a muscle suit. And he's like, no, just make it as tight as you can. I'll take care of the rest. Like, let's save some cost.
I am the muscle suit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I feel like that'd be more of a Bane than anything, but
he could probably be a good Bane. Body.
He'd be a good Aquaman.
Clayface.
Oh,
Clayface. I don't know, because I to be quite honest, I honestly think if this Suicide Squad isekai anime goes well, and if Clayface is the standout star, be prepared for him to be Hot Boy Clayface in everything else. That's going to be him in everything.
I think that would be a great casting. That would be my fan casting for him. I appreciate wanting to play Batman, but my guy Jensen Ackles has it wrapped up. I hope he gets it. I do. I'll say not everyone's on board with that. I see a lot of people that are like, absolutely not. For me, I think he can make a really cool Batman in suit.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But that's not to say Alan Richardson isn't a bad actor. He's not. He's a very good actor. I just think that he's just too big of a person to play Batman, which is probably a good problem to have. It's not a bad problem.
Now, I'll add this. If he is, it's possible that he could pull it off, because the way that Batfleck was just very physical and dominating, and people responded to that so well. I mean, if this guy's kicking cars in and he's just like, I am the enhanced human version of Batman, that's kind of like on that pinnacle of physical everything. Sure.
Maybe. Well, either way, whenever they eventually break the news about who's playing Batman, you know where to find it. We'll definitely be talking about it here on Point 3 Podcast. Now, our last bit of news is actually probably the most recent one today as well, but probably has the most implications in terms of content and film and TV. But it's reported that Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount are in talks for a merger.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's massive.
It's huge.
That's a monopoly if I've ever seen one. But so is Disney. So just getting
I was gonna
bigger
say
studios versus bigger studios.
Yeah. The amount of possibilities this could open, if it's true, is kind of insane. I do think that in terms of film and TV, it might have a little bit more of a negative effect, that you might not be getting different companies for it, therefore less competition. But as a fan of these properties and IPs, it's kind of hard not to get excited. I mean, you look at everything that Paramount has rights to, and Warner Brothers, remember, has DC. Paramount has things like Star Trek, I think Transformers.
Yep.
Sonic.
Do they have Sonic? There you go. You know, look,
they're on their platform. Yeah.
If this happens,
SpongeBob.
It's like Nickelodeon stuff. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
Avatar, Korra, those types of things. I think from an animated standpoint.
If this happens, I mean, realistically, a Transformers cross Star Trek cross
G.I. Joe,
Justice League cross G.I. Joe
cross Godzilla.
Cross Godzilla could happen.
Just Patrick and SpongeBob just running around in that universe, just with their everything's on fire.
I would love that.
Yeah, that okay. If they did make that move, right, now you have Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount. Does Universal make a move, and does Disney? Do they position themselves together in some way? I feel like they're probably closest in relation in terms of kind of their company culture and how people see them from like theme park, adventure, those types of things, and all that. Maybe not. I don't know. To me, Paramount just always feels like a C tier anything, in my opinion. I don't know how much that would rock the boat for people. I guess the thing would be, how much cash are they going to have? But we kind of just came off talking about, you can't just throw money at every single project and that equals great return and good quality. And more isn't more from that standpoint. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess competition is good, but if they're soaking it up, I guess it's kind of maybe a bad thing overall. I don't know. Maybe it's more exposure for them. Who knows? Paramount's buried in my subscriptions, so can't tell you the last time I opened that one up.
I wouldn't be surprised if the is it the FTC, if they would kind of try to go after this deal as hard as they went after some of the other ones.
What was the last one that they did? Was it the deal Disney and Kong? They did one after, I can't remember, but yeah, they may intervene.
Yeah, I know the biggest one is the gaming one that was Bethesda and Xbox, I think.
I believe.
Yeah, Microsoft.
Yeah,
was bought out. Activision and Bethesda.
Yeah. I know they went after that pretty hard and tried to fight it. So I don't think this is as major as that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they still tried to launch like a soft investigation into it.
Yeah.
the only thing is, would this now open up some Paramount projects to kind of fall victim to that practice that Warner Brothers has been doing, where you get a project and then it just gets completely scrapped last minute in an effort to save money?
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of legal stuff that's roped into that to where they may be able to avoid that from a future standpoint. The hard part for me is like, how much can they now protect and how much would they share? Like, how exclusive would things be? And just, if it does happen, get ready for the ugliest Max homepage you've ever seen in your life.
Max Mount.
I'm gonna be looking at
Paramax.
Paramax Discovery,
Paramax.
baby.
Wow.
Paramax
Coined it
Discovery?
here.
Paramax. Discover Paramax.
Dude, that actually sounds.
That's not bad.
Paramax actually sounds pretty good.
Yeah, can we trademark that? You gotta buy it from us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for I don't know how much, but we'll see.
I'll just buy the podcast and we'll make a new one.
Yeah. Well, that's it for the news. Pretty eventful week. Short but eventful.
That's good. That's good.
So again, if you haven't already, subscribe to us here, follow us on social medias, join our Discord, because a lot of what we do talk about in the news, we talk about beforehand in the Discord with everybody in there, and we talk a lot of other things. So into our deep dive now, though. Gents, we are less than 24 hours away
from Christmas
before Aquaman. That's a couple days still. But we are less than 24 hours away from Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom starting to show in theaters. Has a runtime of 2 hours and 4 minutes from what I'm seeing. A budget of $205 million reportedly. Same director, James Wan. Majority of the cast is back in their roles. Guys, how are we feeling about Aquaman and Spider-Brando? I'll kick this off to you. Are you excited for this movie?
Not really. Like, I'm probably not gonna see it this weekend, just because I have too much other stuff, and the way you guys talk about Godzilla -1 in those past videos, I want to watch that way more.
It's priority.
So
that's 2023 right there.
I mean, honestly.
Like, I'm excited for it because I like the first Aquaman. I remember they did a cool Funko release for the movie theater. I have like a Regal exclusive Black Manta. The first one was fun. First one was a fun movie, but last movie in the DCEU, I don't know. I could I don't have to see it.
We got a quick comment in. I don't know if it's Angel or Angel, but correct me, whatever it may be. Just, is it Angel? I'm gonna go with that one. He said, "What's up, guys? Yo, dude, Spider-Brando, I think he's talking to you. How was the cruise?
It was amazing.
No Jason Momoa sightings? Question mark.
Nope, I did not see him in the water.
Would that have changed your excitement?
Yeah,
obviously. If I got to see him swim through the ocean. I was peeping out there, hoping to see like a dolphin or like Atlantis just pop up out of nowhere.
The whole city of Atlantis.
Hey, you never know. I've never been that route at sea before.
That's hilarious.
That's probably why they skipped Bermuda on my trip, because Atlantis is Aquaman 2 coming out. Atlantis is probably peeking out a little too much with those freaking 20-foot waves.
Ooh. Global box office. Wait for Atlantis to pop in. 100 mil.
Right.
Easily. Well, Lou, how about you? What are your feelings towards this movie?
So, quick history here on internal Point 3 podcast conversations. Actually took place on Discord. So if you join, maybe you'll find it. I was not high on the $1 billion project that was Aquaman 1. Didn't love it. Didn't love the casting. I'm very protective of the original look of Aquaman, stories, whole 9 yards. However, there's a certain gentleman here, Hero Scroll, who turned me on to the Jeff Johns omnibus. Read it. watching. I'm somewhere in this trash heap that I have behind me now, but it got me re-excited for the character. And you said give it a chance, and I gave it a chance, and I rewatched it a couple times. I still think the first 10 minutes of that movie are absolutely terrible, but beyond that, it is a fun adventure once you get beyond the initial expectations of who Jason Momoa's Aquaman is within the DCEU. Something that I had to do for the MCU, never did it for the DCEU. Once I did, got out of my own way, enjoyed it for what it was, and really looked at the character. I thought it was a fun movie, and really after reading that omnibus, seeing the part 2, knowing what James Wan is saying of, hey, it was Mira in Arthur's story for the first one, and now it's going to be Orm and Arthur's story. I know more about Ocean Master. I'm curious to see what they do with him, Orm specifically, in that relationship. So I'm taking it from a different angle, right? And I think that's what kind of makes it cool when you get more involved with people who are around this. That's what makes this movie fun, and that's where I'm going at this. That's my point of view. I'm not taking it from it's a DCEU movie. It's the end of it has nothing to do with the DCEU. It has nothing to do with anything. So for that reason, no, I'm not going to see it, when it's released. If it came out a week ago, then I probably would have seen it by now. But, here we are. I do really want to see it, though, and I'm actually really excited. I think it looks good. I think it looks fun. My question to people is, if you really were excited about the first one, why not go see this one too? That's where I'm kind of confused.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, like, it made $1 billion, and now everyone's like, nah, no Aquaman. I'm like, DCU wasn't all that at that point when the first one made so much money. And it looks really good, and it's kind of the same visual. Like, everything's the same. It's a carryover. It's a part 2. I don't know. I think from that standpoint, I'm surprised it's not getting as much. I'm not surprised, but it should be getting more love than it is, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. This is a movie that I personally am very excited about. I think it just has the unfortunate timing of everything going on. Yeah. A lot of the changing of the guard towards, the DC universe, I think killed the hype on this movie a lot. A lot of the reports that I don't know if were true anymore, with people saying this movie was kind of sucky and people were walking out during test screenings. Who knows what that was about? It coming out on the holiday weekend, it could be beneficial to it. It might not, and it's really looking like it's leaning towards the side that it probably is not beneficial towards it. To me, this probably should have released in October. I think like the original did. I believe the original had an October release date.
And yeah.
So I think it's just poor timing on a lot of things for this poor movie. However, like I said, very excited. I do think Jason Momoa has fun in these movies. And even though, yes, I agree that he is not the textbook Aquaman, he's still a good, at least to me, iteration of Aquaman and his own thing. That it's fun enough 100%. That, we're just going out there with it, having fun. Orm, in the first movie, was a very cool character to me. And in the second one, the fact that we're getting more of him, I think is great. They're getting a little buddy cop type thing.
Yeah.
And I know some people are like, oh, well, why would they ever do that? Well, if you read the omnibus, like Angel says, omnibuses are the new Bibles to me. It's very true to the source material. And I think that run is absolutely incredible. I love that run. Probably one of my favorites of all time. And the trailers that we've seen from this just looks like it's more of what the first one was, which was just that run. It's a continuation of it.
Yeah.
And for that, I think it's going to be fun. And honestly, James Wan is a kind of director who likes to have fun in his movies.
Yeah.
If you've seen a lot of his other things, he doesn't take himself too seriously, which is a good thing. He goes out there, he tries to be truthful to what he's making, but also having a good time. And I think that's what this is going to be.
It'll still fall into that bucket that I think comic book movies are kind of trapped in right now, to where I don't want to waste my time and pay to go see this movie, but as soon as this hits Max, God knows if they release the data, what it's gonna. This movie most likely is probably going to be one of the most watched Max movies
100%.
that we've gotten. Right? Who doesn't love Jason Momoa? He's so fun. From what he's been able to do with his marketing and press releases and those types of things, he looks like he's having a good time at this Trident. He's done some wild things with it, but whatever. Here's the interesting thing about this before we kind of maybe get into some specific thoughts about the movie. They're doing something interesting where the review embargo is set to lift on Thursday, tomorrow, which technically is a day before the US release date, as to get kind of YouTubers and people have already seen this movie. All of your favorite reviewers that you all follow on social media, they most likely have seen it. They had a good time. I've seen a lot of positive things from people for the reason of it's a movie set to entertain. You go to have fun to watch a movie. This is a fun movie. The first one was fairly fun for a lot of people, clearly. So I don't know. I don't get being so harsh on this movie. Again, I was in that camp for a very long time. But once the sky's cleared, the question came down to, do I enjoy watching movies? Do I enjoy watching superhero movies? Do I know who this Aquaman is? All those answers are yes. Why not see this? If you have time, go check it out in theaters. But don't crush this movie. I just don't crush the movie because it's going to make less than the Marvels did or less than Shazam Fury of the Gods did and all that kind of stuff. We did a video on it. Does a bad box office equal a bad movie or project? No. And unfortunately for a lot of people surrounding this project, mainly Black Manta, who I want to touch on when we get to the characters potentially, there'll be some negative connotations to some of these actors who are playing these characters who may be really fun, but this is the worst rated movie and lowest expectations. And I don't know, 40 million opening weekend used to be great once upon a time. Now, if you do it, you basically failed. So,
yeah, I agree though. It screams comic book movie in a way that I don't think comic book movie has in a long time. And I mean it in terms of like just the outrageous action scenes we've seen in the trailers. Even the colors, I think the colors from what we've seen are so reminiscent of something in a comic book page. That again gets me really excited for this. Unfortunately, I don't know if I'll be able to watch it opening weekend just because of everything going on with the holidays and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I can, I will. I do want to see it. So
let me ask you guys this. Spider-Brando, does this movie feel super to you?
I'd say it does. Like when I said earlier that I'm not like the most excited for it, I still think it looks like it's gonna be a good movie and build off what the first one did. I just have like too much going on to really prioritize seeing it opening weekend. So I just want to clarify that. But from the trailer the trailer makes it look a little super. And it seems like Black Manta is out for his freaking vengeance. He looks like he's gonna be a good villain. So I'd say it looks pretty super.
Yeah. Hero, do you feel that way based on everything we've seen as well?
Yes, 100%. Mainly because to me, and not to get too ahead into things, Black Manta feels like a supervillain, and we can touch on him more as a character in a little bit. But as a antagonist for the movie, he feels like more than just normal from what we've seen. And again, this does too, where in the scenes of the trailers, we see him jumping out of the water on top of this really cool looking seahorse. We see armies going to war. that's what, at least to me, part of what makes a superhero movie super. You get to see crazy things like that, and I don't know if we've gotten a movie like that that has felt that way in a while.
Because I'm going to ask this next question. This movie compared to a Wakanda Forever. So we got Aquaman 1. We see what Atlantis looks like. Again, it feels very visual effects, CGI heavy. Like, it's not necessarily real. And then you get Talokan of kind of, well, we could talk about who came first. But again, your underwater character that we see here who, the scenery, the grandiose of it all, it was a little more grounded for a place yet to be explored in a way. And then we get a follow-up to that now of where we've seen kind of both sides of the coin, and now we're back on the original side, from a live action standpoint. Talk to me about the setting and the feel in Atlantis from that standpoint, right? We know the colors, the look, all that, the sea monsters, the creatures. Is it too far out there and that's a potential turnoff for people? Or is that just something of like, I don't know, it's not really interesting?
It could be in a way for some, right? I think you're always going to lose certain people for sequels in superhero movies just because of the climate and the negativity around it. But just in terms of the setting, I don't think it's too far out there, and I personally like it because, like you said, we've gotten Atlantis already, and then we got a version of that in Wakanda Forever. Obviously, very different name and everything, but still basically, it's your stand-in for Atlantis. Where this movie seems to be going, though, it's a exploration of the deeper parts of Atlantis and what that actually means. And I hope maybe we get at least for a little bit of the movie, some sort of reaction from outsiders towards this world, because at least we haven't seen that in movies yet, in a superhero movie more specifically.
Yeah. Do you, Spider-Brando, do you feel that there could potentially be a disconnect in this type of movie for those that see it based on how it doesn't necessarily feel original? Like Mirror Scroll mentioned, we've seen it once before, so that shock of, or that Rotten Tomatoes, oh, it's fresh, right? There is no fresh in this standpoint because we've gotten it once. But is it possible that this can still be relatable for the audience, that what happens in it could be believable for the audience, that this story can carry enough weight to where people feel that this journey is punishing for them in a way of like, it just hits in a lot of different ways?
I'd say it definitely can hold its weight. It's got to play its cards right and just pretty much build off of the first one. I don't know. It's kind of all I got.
Well, no, I was gonna say, just from the standpoint of like, for me, for the first one and a lot of things I've saw when I went back and looked around that time when Aquaman 1 came out, it was just, we know what an HBO Max series will show. It's like the Monsterverse. It's big, it's brutal, there's a lot of colors and effects, and it's what people like. It's action packed, if you will. But does that extra element of Atlantis and the creatures like take away that level of relatability and believability because it's such an unknown, because it doesn't exist?
I mean, I feel like you could say that about like any superhero movie because superheroes don't exist. So it's kind of like the same thing.
Dude, and that's my point. You nailed that. That was
Yeah.
perfect. Of like, I don't want to go see Aquaman. It's like, but you like comic book movies, right? Like, why not eventually give it a chance? I'm not saying go see it over
Yeah.
the weekend, But for people right now, I'm seeing so many people write this movie off completely. I'll
Yeah.
never watch this movie.
Yeah.
And that's where I go. And I think you nailed it. That was my thought of like, but isn't that a superhero movie? Like, even for animation, all these things we've seen this year, you're just like, that would never happen. And it's just like, okay, well, you let me know when Brainiac comes down and just, beams me up, and I'll tell you my experience. Like, I'm not going to, never.
Purple dude snapping his fingers, and then all of a sudden everybody's dead. Like,
yeah. Agreed. Well,
and then they'll bring up the boys. They'll probably bring up the boys.
They will,
like Invincible into it, and it's like they ain't real.
Yeah.
I truthfully do think though that if superheroes were real, the boys universe is probably the most accurate on how it would be.
Just
like government controlled. They're trying to use it for propaganda purposes, and
probably.
I agree.
But uses them for bad.
Probably. Let's hope not.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. But and what I think a lot of people will kind of argue in terms of those two specific properties that you mentioned, Spider-Brando, The Boys and Invincible, is like, oh, well, they have characters that reel me in. So, Lou, I'm going to throw this question to you because we were kind of alluding to it in terms of the characters of the movie. Does this movie have enough character between Aquaman, between Orm, between Black Manta to carry it to be something successful in terms of its story?
I do, and I think a lot of it hinges on Black Manta and how they position, because that was one issue I had with the first one of like, he's like, oh, you killed my dad, well, I'm coming after you, and it's like, dog, you kind of did it yourself. Like, it was kind of on you guys, but okay, like, sure, if you want to pin this on someone else, I mean, go for it. Again, if you read the omnibus, I think they do a much better job on Black Manta from the jump. And it's a lot more interesting and complex of a character, and it shows you how methodical, and Black Manta is playing a high level of chess with Aquaman. I didn't feel that from the first one, but I do think they have an opportunity now in the second one to say, because he feels like a super villain, here is what led him to get the Black Trident. Here is what put him on this war path to take away everything that Aquaman loves. And here's why Aquaman needs to recruit other characters like Orm, Amira, whoever else from Atlantis that they pull into this story. But I think between the three of them, and for better or worse, I just think the whole Amber Heard thing would kind of be an issue in this, even though screen time is supposed to be pulled back for her regardless. You have an opportunity here to kind of play with multiple characters with Arthur at the center, where the first one really felt more like an A, B to C. This is going to feel like A, B, and C all at once in more of a dynamic way with the way that relationships are set up. Plus, fans who watched Aquaman 1, who now know the Polynesian Aquaman that is Jason Momoa is at the center of this, I think it'll be a lot easier for people to consume and accept because that knowledge is already there. They just have to drive it home by the end of this and give us something that we feel. And I don't know how far they're going to go because this is the last movie. I don't think they created it with that in mind. Maybe the reshoots did something along that to kind of pull it together. But I do think the adventure aspect between Orm and Arthur and what they do will be a compliment to Black Manta. I wholeheartedly believe Black Manta could steal the show and really be the MVP of this movie for a lot of people who watch it.
Agreed. The crazy thing to me is that as I think about this movie, and obviously we don't want to compare everything to everything that it's come after in the DCEU. But when you really look at the sequels of that universe, the sequels really ask a lot out of a casual viewer
Yeah.
that I think this one does not require that. A big complaint that people say when it comes to superhero movies, oh, well, you have to watch all the movies to get it. In this case, you really don't. If you saw Aquaman, you're going to understand the story. And even if you didn't, you're going to understand the story pretty well, it seems.
Yeah.
So for it to be a movie that is just solely dependent on your knowledge of that, of the previous one, I really think that should attract more people and allows for those dynamics, like you said, to be explored a lot more. Where I hope that Black Manta is the standout star of this, because I really think the actor Yahya Abdul Mateen, I think is his
Yep.
full name. How you say it? Um, is a fantastic actor who unfortunately has just been put in movies that waste the character that he is. For example, he was in Matrix, the last one, and he wasn't. He was the new Morpheus, and they just kind of wasted that character completely. But everything else that he's in, where he's gotten a chance to really show what he can do, he's always praised for it. And I hope this is another one of those. I hope Patrick Wilson and Jason Momoa are fun together. And it really seems like they will. And I also really hope that this is a good character progression for Aquaman by the end of this, because at least from the trailer, it feels like and even from like the beginning of when we saw him in Batman versus Superman to now, it doesn't feel like he's changed that much. It really only feels like the thing that's changed is he is the king of Atlantis, and that's about it.
I mean, the thing that I look for in Spider-Brando, what I'll compare this to is kind of like a Tom Holland accepting the mantle type of thing of like, I'm Spider-Man, right? I have raw talent and potential. I've really stepped away from my responsibility, and it is kind of a with great power comes great responsibility, but it's not just I have the ability to save people, it's I have the ability to protect an entire civilization. But again, that's a part of my life, that's not all of my life. And now he has a child, and I feel like the sense of responsibility that he has in this is going to be the root that carries everything forward. And that theme of, yes, we'll have heroism, yes, we'll have responsibility, but really that sacrifice piece. And maybe this is a movie where he does lose a hand type of thing, you know what I mean? And we get that look by the end of this of him standing tall, because again, he's going to win. But would you guys prefer this movie dives deeper into his sense of responsibility, or would you rather have it be more loose, Fast and the Furious-esque, where it's quick, we move along, we kind of pull that Marvel's piece, if you will, of like, man, we're hopping from here to here to here to here to here, and by the end of it, we have a really big boss fight and the credits roll?
I want it somewhere in the middle, because I think people always judge Fast and Furious, but yet here we are 10 something movies later still being like, man, I can't wait to see how it ends. And there's a reason, because yes, the action is over the top, but it's fun. And I feel like that's what this movie should be. It should be over the top. It should be fun. But I still think that, you should get some of those good story beats between him and Orm and, Aquaman and Manta, Orm and Black Manta. Those interactions, I think, what will only supplement the movie's action and visuals and propel it to be something even better if they do it right. And I really hope they do.
Yeah.
Do we know what Mira's role in the movie is supposed to be, or how much she's going to be in it?
We don't.
I still saw her in the trailers a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, there were those rumors that she was scaled back, and they said it was because of the whole thing with Johnny Depp, and James Wan came out and said, again, like, you had your story was the first one. The second one, you're not, like, you never were supposed to be as involved as you were in the first one. So she's definitely getting less screen time. I think from a marketing perspective, maybe they reeled it back a little bit more just because, I mean, I think she was just voted like one of the worst celebrities of 2023 or something. And it's just, it's tough. Like, she's in a tough position. They're kind of in a tough position, but they committed, and, you know, she stuck around. It's tough because Mira is a really, really fun part of this story. And I actually really like Mira in the omnibus more so than I thought that I would.
Yeah.
And when I read her, I never pictured Amber Heard or did that actor association with the character.
No.
She felt like A tier.
She does. She feels like an ace.
Yeah.
In this universe or in that universe, but here it feels like she's just going to be kind of another piece of the puzzle. It feels like the movie, not only from the trailers, but also I looked up really quick some of the posters of the film, and there's 3 that really stand out to me and I think are probably the best posters for the entire film. It's Aquaman, Orm, and Black Manta. It's 3 separate posters, and each one has a word. So for Aquaman, it's protect. For Orm, it's redeem. And then for Black Manta, it's avenge. And what's interesting is that Orm is in the middle of both. And the background for Aquaman's is blue. The background for Mantis is red. Obviously, blue and red make a purple color, which is what Orm's is. Obviously, not only his costume, but for the background of his poster. We could be reading too deep into this, maybe, but I think it's very intentional for what they're trying to say.
It's like your GTA bullet holes, reading Braille type of thing that I see on there where people are trying to decipher codes using it.
It's for like, the release date.
It's not like that.
Like, again, could be wrong, but just an interesting observation.
Listen, it's a good group of characters, and it's a dynamic that we just haven't really had in the DCEU or the MCU, because nothing has had a chance to evolve in a way that this has. Now, you would have an opportunity. I would say if the DCU went on, the closest thing that I feel like you would get to a feel of what I'm assuming this movie is going to have is if you get a reverse Flash dynamic.
Yeah.
That weight of that, we are just inseparable. A Batman Joker, just inseparable. Like, that's how I feel Black Manta and Aquaman should have been from the jump. That feel should have felt a little bit deeper and not as surface level. But with Orm as well, I feel like it was just under the surface to where it was all too quick. And I think that's what hurt the story of Aquaman in general, because I don't want to get into this, and I don't want this to be a spoiler, but I've been on record saying this, and I still believe this, and I double down on it. This should have been, in my opinion, Aquaman should have been what started the DCEU.
Yeah.
And ultimately, when Aquaman 2 comes in, what you see in the back half of this story should have occurred. And I think people would have really realized just how much of an ace Orm is, how much of an ace Black Manta is, and how much of an ace Mira can be in comparison to other members or characters that are affiliates or in the Justice League. And when you see an Aquaman character, it should feel like an oh crap, instead of now it's just like, oh, that's fun. Like, it should be like, it's a problem if Ocean Master shows up. It's a problem if Black Manta gets the Black Trident. Not just for Atlantis, but for the world.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, and like you said, that's kind of something that the DCEU in its entirety has failed at, is the villains that you give us or that they've given us. A lot of them just fall flat. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I would say the only person that was like, oh crap, is probably General Zod, which is the very first time. And then even that's kind of arguable, because everybody else after that is just kind of like, whatever. Like, if you really think about it, Zeus wasn't that. Well, Zeus wasn't not Zeus. Ares. There you go. Ares wasn't that.
Oh yeah.
Doomsday wasn't that. Lex Luthor wasn't that. Who else am I missing? I'm sure it'll hit me later on, but a lot of these villains never felt like anything. It never felt like a big deal.
No, they were one and dones. They felt like their story should close at the end of the movie. Again, that's the good thing about this. Their story did not end in the first movie. Their story continues. This is a part 2, not necessarily just a sequel. And I think positioning that and hearing people talk about that of like, oh, this is the next part of Aquaman's story, or like, that's something that we just haven't gotten from a DC standpoint. Even with, Man of Steel to Batman versus Superman. Like, again, we know the DC EU story, and obviously there's a reason why this is the last installment. I just don't know why it has a post-credit scene.
This has a post-credits?
I believe it has one post-credit scene.
Oh, I did not know that.
So
Yeah,
I'm sure
they'll
they'll be
stupid, just like the last one.
Yeah.
In freaking Flash.
Yeah.
Will they bring it full circle, and will Peacemaker make an appearance?
Dude, he just gets recruited by Waller.
Aquaman? By Waller? Oh,
Waller shows up, Aquaman, I want you to meet someone. Black Adam's just standing there, and he's just like, this is my ocean.
What if it's just like very clever fourth wall break, and it's Jason Momoa and James Gunn and Peter Safran in a meeting room, and they're like, "Okay, cool. You're not.
Do you want to be Lobo?
You're not Aquaman anymore. You're Lobo now." And they like beam him with like a little ray, and now he's Lobo, and he just rides off on his motorcycle. He's like,
that'd be hilarious. That would be hilarious. If you guys, did you get a chance to watch that? The interview where he supposedly went back and he was talking about like when he got casted and how he didn't believe it, and he always thought it was going to be for Lobo, and him and Patrick Wilson. Like, you got to give props to someone who still embodies a character, regardless of how close it is to their actual personality or not. But never once did I personally feel, out of all of his appearances as Aquaman, knowing that was not his first choice, that he played that character any less. I feel like he gave it who he is, put in the effort, and really made the character his own. And they worked with him to do that as well. So I didn't love him at first. Now that it's over, in hindsight, maybe you should have supported him a little bit more. But
I always enjoyed him.
Yeah, I'm excited for this movie. I will watch it, hopefully in theaters. I'll definitely watch it when it's on Max. It should be good. I think it should be good. And I will throw this out here and I'll say B+.
I'm gonna give it a
8.4 out of 10.
I'm gonna give it the same. I think I will only give it slightly better at an 8.5. B+. I'm hoping good things.
I feel like I'm gonna be Debbie Downer here.
No.
B.
No.
An 8.
It's still really good though.
Just flat 8.
I just, from a project standpoint, again, it has nothing like, we're not looking for any Easter eggs for future installments. And I think that'll be a nice thing about this. You can watch the movie and enjoy it for what it is. And it'll be a nice cap on what was a very interesting year for comic book movies in 2023.
Yes. One last question before we kind of wrap it up. Something we love doing here at Point 3. We don't have official name for it. We probably should by now. Box office roulette. I don't know. Maybe that's what we'll call it. We'll see. But what do you guys think this is going to make opening weekend?
I have my numbers locked like in stone. So I don't want to sway. Spider-Brando.
How much did Godzilla do opening weekend?
Like 11 mil.
I'm going 6. $64 million.
64 mil opening week. I'm putting it on the board.
I'm going to say 58.
Oh, do I want to change my number now?
No, you said you had it locked
You said
in.
you had
so-
it locked. You
I
can't
do.
Yeah.
But
So,
now I sound like a complete idiot if I say it out loud.
No.
I've said 25 million.
Oh, wow.
Maybe we're the complete idiots that think it's going to do that good.
Well, just remember, everybody, that if it does around that number, Spider-Brando was the most off. So,
I forgot to
putting it on the board. Who's our leader? Spider-Brando. I think you're in first place. You get the
Just because they got closest, but my closest was still off by like 30 million.
You're under, right?
Yeah. Well, at least for this year, Spider-Brando is the box office winner in terms of predictions, but that ends in like a week and a half, and then we start new, and then someone else will take. We need to make like a little championship out of it.
We do. I mean, we have virtual evidence of this.
Yeah.
So I guess we can unofficially crown you as the 2023 box office 0.3 champion or whatever.
Yeah.
Take it.
We'll
want a Funko from each of you and the viewers.
Speaking of that,
I'm
have
kidding.
you seen all your Black Clover Funko Pops that came out?
Oh, dude, I just pre-ordered an Asta today.
Okay.
I can't do the rest.
They look
I can't
good.
do the rest, but I got that Asta. I pre-ordered technically three Sonics, because I got 2 Supersonics.
Ooh.
I want that Chase.
Yeah.
And
Well,
Robot, Metal
AAA,
Sonic.
yeah, baby.
Well, we'll crown you the official winner of the box office next week in our. Can we give a little preview? Might as well, right?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Yeah. So next week, our deep dive. If not the entire show, we still have to iron out the details. Will be a year's end type award show from our end. So it's going to be interaction with everybody. Not just our picks, it's going to be picks from people on Discord, Instagram, you guys here on YouTube. So be on the lookout for that. We should have it next week, but we'll have something for you guys to vote before the weekends.
Yeah, it should. I'm excited to see it. I think it'll be interesting. I think there was a lot of diversity in opinions for this year, so I'm pumped to see what we come up with.
Same.
I like it.
Excited.
Well, with that, everyone, it's the end of this Wednesday live stream. We appreciate everyone joining. It's a good stamp on 2023. We're getting close. It's almost 2024. Big things coming for the Point 3 podcast. We appreciate every single one of you that are watching this live. If you're watching this recorded, you're listening to it in your car, whatever it might be, we appreciate you being one of the Point 3 people. But everyone, until next Wednesday, do something for us here. 3 things that are extremely important. You're probably doing it already, but keep reading, keep watching, and keep nerding out.
And have a great holiday.